Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. This is the Unboxing AI webinar series by CARPL. Today's episode number 32, and it happens to be the our post RSNA roundup episode. And we're absolutely delighted to have with us, what I may say, the holders of all the insights on our industry. We have Jennifer and Monique from KLAS Research. I'm sure if you're ever done anything in imaging, you would know about KLAS. It is, I think, every company's dream to be best in class, and absolutely privileged, Jennifer and Monique, to have you guys with us today. If you have been living under a rock and you don't know what CARPL is, well, we are your friendly neighborhood AI platform, helping you navigate the entire ecosystem of AI applications from around the world. There's hundreds of companies building AI, all trying to come into your clinical workflows. We help you test, deploy, and monitor these solutions, and also serve as a single user interface, a single data channel, and a single procurement channel. So, shameless self promotion aside, uh, Jennifer, Monique, thank you for joining. You know, we could start, if we go with Jennifer first, we could just give quick 30-second intros. What are your roles at KLAS? And then we'll take it from there.
Perfect. Thanks for having us. So my name is Jennifer Hickenlooper, and I'm a Senior Insights Director here at KLAS. Some of the areas that I cover are watching our broader AI trends, hence why I am here today. So I will share a more broad view, and then Monique will share more what is going on in imaging because she can go 100 miles deep with that. So I'll let her introduce herself now.
Thank you so much for hosting and having me. My name is Monique Rasband, and I am just still on the RSNA high. So just arrived home yesterday, and it has been awesome to meet and talk with so many of our providers. And people always thank us and give KLAS the credit for the data, but I always like to remind everyone the data does come back from you. So this is all from providers. I'm not a clinician. I am not an MD. And so we rely on having these deep discussions with our healthcare providers that are out in the field, out in the trenches. And that is where we get our information, our data, and of course, learn from you. So thank you so much for hosting and having us.
No, thank you, Jennifer, Monique, and for everybody who's joining. I can still see people trickling in. Please feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like. As a matter of principle, we will prioritize your questions over our own discussions, so don't hesitate. So yeah, so to begin with, Jennifer, can you give us, like, first, for those who may not know, what is KLAS, right? What is it exactly that you guys do? And secondly, how do you see AI, the broader digital health ecosystem today?
Yeah, perfect. So, um, to start class, so what we do is we are really trying to improve healthcare IT and services, and how we do that, as Monique just mentioned, is we talk to customers using these technology and services, gather ratings, and then we give what you shared, a best in class award at the end of every year in each market segment that we measure to show which vendors are performing the best for their customers. And then we use this to continue to push the industry to become better with both the service and technology that they're providing for healthcare providers. And then when we jump over, did you ask me about AI trends as well, or just to introduce
Yeah,
class?
no, of
Great.
course, AI trends as well.
Okay, perfect. So I would say, as all of you are well aware, AI has been around for a while, but with the launch of some of these generative AI solutions that were a lot more accessible to the public, it has now become the buzzword everywhere, not just in healthcare. And everyone is talking about how can we use this, what can we do with it, and we've seen some pretty rapid progression in the healthcare space, especially in certain areas with the adoption of AI. Prior to COVID, only I'm going to go with cutting edge type organizations were really playing around with AI. And then COVID happened, and we did see rush to implement maybe some operational use cases because everyone was strapped so thin, and so they needed to really be more efficient with their operations. So things like command centers got more adoption during that period. And then with the generative AI buzz that just happened, people are trying to figure out how can we use these type of solutions in our healthcare system. We've also seen imaging in general. I think adoption's been there for a longer period of time. Some orgs have jumped in and others have gone more slowly. Monique can talk a little more about that and the journey there, but we've definitely seen an increase. There's a lot more regulations over on the imaging side, so what people are implementing has to meet a certain standard. On the broader healthcare side, most of the use cases have really focused on more operations or maybe things like ambient speech, where it's lower risk because it's creating something, but the doctor's still going to use it, right? They keep a human in the loop. And so we're not really seeing so many clinical use cases when it comes to AI, because there is a lot of risk with AI diagnosing or saying this is how you should treat someone. And so we'll see if that adoption increases. Anything you want to add to that, Monique?
No, that's perfect. One thing I did want to share, this is actual data from our new imaging AI report. And those of you that do not have access to KLAS for healthcare providers, we're happy to help you take care of that for you. You can link in with us, let us know, and we'll make sure you get a complimentary copy of that report. But one thing that was really interesting, as Jen mentioned, AI has been talked about for quite some time. There is definitely still a bit of miscommunication or misunderstanding around what does that mean? What are the different pieces for AI? So I always like to ask providers when we start talking about AI, when they say, what does KLAS have? What data are you looking at? I always like to ask, what do you need? What are you looking for? And that's where oftentimes it becomes a bit quiet, because not all providers know what they need or what they're looking for. There are definitely leading organizations that are deep in AI, but this is absolutely a journey and it's changing very quick. As Jen mentioned, there are a few hundred algorithms in imaging. And so obviously tracking and knowing and understanding what all those are doing, that is not something that KLAS has done, is gone out and rate each individual algorithm. So for this particular study, when we were speaking with imaging providers and when we were getting interview, and by the way, it's not just a survey monkey. That's one thing I'm very proud about the way KLAS does research. We're on the phone with healthcare providers, usually on a Teams or Zoom, and sometimes in person, but we're having those discussions, not just sending something out and getting that quick survey monkey. So it is a discussion and interview, but we ask about 200, actually just over 200 organizations what they were doing around AI, and 36% of them were live on some form of AI. Now, this is all over the board, from large organizations, large imaging groups, large radiology groups, as well as the small imaging centers, small hospitals, and then of course critical care. So we definitely wanted a broad and academic. We wanted a broad sample to ask. And so that 36%, we did not identify, or we did not put a border around AI. That was up to them. So there absolutely were some that just said, yes, CAD. And the way we feel it is moving is around AI, or we feel like we're moving through and that's our AI. So please remember, when I say 36%, that's a broad description and up to their interpretation of AI. So of that 36% that were live, then there were also a percentage that were using more than one AI solution. And then, no surprise, there are a chunk of those that are going to add more AI down the road. And then some that are just looking and asking, hey, instead of us going out as the provider, everyone is busy, the shortages are real, how can we look and partner with platform vendors? And the big question is, how will our PACS vendor and or our VNA vendor, our core imaging vendor, how can we look at them to partner, and how can they team up with other organizations, with other companies, so everyone's not going out one off? You can see with that large volume of AI vendors, it's not going to be realistic for healthcare providers to go out and investigate all of those at once.
Well, that's an amazing point, Monique, because I'm not sure if you know, but at CARPL we announced 3 partnerships. At
Yes.
RSNA. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's all up to the team. It was a lot of hard work, but then kudos to the PAX vendors as well, right? Because
Absolutely.
it's incredible how quickly they respond to their customers' needs. One would these are like $500 million revenue companies, right? But still, they still have that drive and that innovation in them. Be always be future proof. So that felt pretty cool. Monique, tell me one thing. You've just come back from RSNA. I'm assuming you're at home. What did you learn that you didn't know before?
So the new partnerships, that's one thing that I learned. Obviously, I knew there were partnerships moving, and it's no surprise there were going to be announcements. Providers have been telling us for some time that has to happen. They're not going to go shop, as I mentioned, and say, we're just going to go first look for the best breast algorithm. We're going to go look for the very best neuro. Now, absolutely, providers want the best, but it's not going to be individual. And I think everyone knows that's not manageable. It's not maintainable. It can't be maintained. And so that's something I was very excited to start to see them come together. I was really excited to sit in a couple of demos and see the 2 logos. I think that's really exciting for providers. Providers have all been using PACS for a very long time. A lot of people are using VNAs, and that's been for a very long time. So for them to be able to work with the providers they already know and trust, or if they are looking for a new PACS provider, there's also a lot of flexibility in the market right now. A lot of people shopping. That is a question that we are hearing will be part of when they're looking for a new PACS. How does their PACS vendor handle cloud? And how does their PACS vendor partner and work with the different AI vendors and different AI platforms? So that is a brand new piece of the discussion that has maybe been thought about, but now we're really seeing that come into play when they're going out for RFP and they're looking to switch vendor partners. So that was one thing that was great. I love hearing about the new, as Jennifer mentioned, the new buzz. There were a lot of people talking about a lot of excitement around generative AI. And I thought it was awesome for our report that just published the week before RSNA. It was awesome to hear providers say, thank you for giving the report that shows where the market is in reality. Because when you look at the buzzwords, when you look at AI, I've had conversations with leading providers that they say, we think we're behind. We're the only one not adopting 1 million algorithms. So sometimes the market feels like it's so much ahead in AI. It is absolutely moving, but there is a lot of energy and a lot of green field for everybody. And I think it's a time we're learning together and figuring out what's going to be best. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing, and the same goal would be better patient care. Take care of our clinicians, don't burn them out, and of course, better patient care. And on the IT side, that makes everybody happy because the RIT friends and thought leaders, the people in this space are getting burned out. So we need to take care of everybody.
That's interesting. And so Monique, like, have you seen such a trend ever happen in the past? Like you've been studying the industry for 15 years, like, the excitement of AI, this, partnership-based model, kind of, I think of it as contractual consolidation, right? It's not that companies are being acquired, but, contracts are being signed and it's like
Right.
integrated offerings and all that. So has this ever happened before as well? I know I'm going a little off script, but
No, this is
yeah.
awesome. So I will just date myself. I worked with oncology centers and imaging centers, some of them before they had PACS. And it is really fun for me to see when new technology, some people were really excited. Other people were saying, what is this PACS? What is this going to do? And there was some hesitancy. For those of you who remember, you may have been one of the ones that were excited, but there was some hesitancy even about going live with PACS. Now we cannot even imagine having an imaging center. I was in an imaging center on a humanitarian mission in Africa just a few years ago, and they were trying to figure out PACS. And I was like, man, this is bizarre to go back and see how it really was holding them back from doing other pieces and other things they could do. And then you think about moving from the old analog X-ray, moving to digital. I know that's on the equipment side, but there are people saying, this is crazy. This is not going to work. And then I know other people were really excited about it. And then you look from mammography 2D to the 3D tomosynthesis, and how many people said we can never store this many images. And now most breast centers, most organizations, you could not pry that 3D tomosynthesis out of their hands. People really rely. And I feel like AI, if you remember, oh gosh, maybe 5 years ago, people were a little bit skeptical, and radiologists, I don't know how they were feeling about it. I think some were feeling not sure, but several people that were not radiologists said, oh, in 3 to 5 years, there'll be no more radiologists. That is the opposite. We have such a need. They are such a valued piece and partner, so integral within the patient care. And now people are saying, how do we get this faster so radiologists can do the pieces that they are incredibly good at? Read the studies that are for them. It's their expertise, the right study, the right time, the right patient, of course. And that now is being pushed by AI that hopefully will be able to do some of that and break down the barriers, break down the wall, so that AI can do its thing and our RADs can do the thing that they do, which is read the very best studies and take very good care of patients.
That it's incredible that you were to say that there was hesitancy around PACS and hesitancy around DBT and all, because for folks that are starting up in the imaging AI field, they are born in PACS, so I think for somebody who's trying to build a company, a product in this in AI, for them, I think it's a very optimistic thing that if something so fundamental as PACS could have been questioned once upon a time for whether it's even needed or not, then yeah, certainly AI has to go through that value proving kind of journey, if I may. You also mentioned cloud, Monique, and you said that providers are now starting to care about uh, how well their PACS partners are doing cloud. Could you share more about that? Like, is it actually cheaper to do cloud? Is it more secure, or
Great
is it just
question.
like who is cloud for?
Yeah, such a great question. We had a couple of studies I'm going to reference and bring them all together. And again, please link in for the providers out there. We would love to get this data in your hands complimentary. So please send me a note on LinkedIn. We'll make sure we take care of you. So I'm going to quickly reverse back and go to our enterprise imaging study. We asked the question, again, all providers equally, all sizes, all shapes. We want to know data from everyone, know the feedback experience, get the data from everybody. What is your, what are you looking at? What is going to be one of your initiatives? What are you looking for in the future? And it was expansion of service lines, expansion of the ology, so to speak, in enterprise imaging. We've seen very strong adoption with VNA, obviously in radiology. Cardiology was a no-brainer. People were putting their cardiology in the VNA as well. Now we're starting to see point of care ultrasound, and that's been brewing for a while, but we're starting to see some really positive use cases, which then you can talk about ROI. Also making sure the studies that are happening are being accounted for, and that you're billing for those, that you're also getting that information for the patient. We're seeing dental, ophthalmology, wound care, pathology is a really, really big one. Talk about massive data sets. And so that's something that also now providers are saying, okay, so now we're adding that to our VNA. Now we're moving along enterprise imaging. What can we do with that in the cloud? And that is where it feels like we've been talking about enterprise imaging for so long. We've been talking about AI really long time. At RSNA, one of my colleagues and I were talking about a provider colleague. He said, don't you feel like you and I have been talking about this for 10 plus years, and you were trying to scope a study? And I said, I feel like it has been at least 10 years. Similar to cloud, we always thought that we were going to have this big study on cloud and a lot of data. And even though we have a study this year, it's still showing early. Now, what I will say with cloud this year at RSNA, and even leading up from our report publishing, providers downloading, sharing their feedback and telling us an update, I feel like our cloud report it gets dated very quickly, which is a good problem to have, because providers are now literally signing, migrating, going live. I was on a panel with one of our provider partners at RSNA, and they're already live in the cloud, a very very nice, a very nice site, Tampa General. So, and other providers that we're going live here soon, once they unlock that, we really feel, and again, not we, because I'm not a clinician or an IT expert, providers are telling me that's going to change and we'll be able to unlock and harness more of that power with AI. We will have that, all three things will come together with enterprise imaging, cloud, and AI. And you mentioned the ROI and the cost. And in our study, it showed, yes, this is going to be long-term, but right off the bat, people are not going to sign and see an immediate savings of cloud. I've heard oftentimes about these calculators and figuring the cost out. The cost is not easy to figure out. So work with a vendor that you can partner with and have them help you figure those costs out. I know some of the larger organizations, they have that information. It's going to be easier. But as an example, providers have mentioned to me, even the real estate, the physical real estate of going to cloud that opened up for them with the servers. And there also are providers talking about it's going to be more of a hybrid. We're not just going to quickly go all cloud and get rid of everything. They want more of a hybrid. So you even think about the team and your administrators that are working on that side. There are plenty more things for them to go do if we could free up a piece of that. So I am getting, providers are sharing with me, it's going to be a long-term ROI, and they do feel down the road there's going to be a cost savings. But right now, looking at the cost, it's not always apples to apples. And then, of course, it's going to be where's the provider starting? Are you renewing your cloud contract right now? I mentioned there are a lot of people looking. The last number I saw, about 25% of the organizations are shopping for new PACS, and they are potentially not going to stay with the same PACS vendor. So a really good time, even if you are not looking at cloud, to have those discussions, understand what that looks like, and just start to look at the roadmap. Is cloud today? Is it in 1 year, 3 year, 5 years? And then again, really talking with different vendors and understanding the long-term partnership and what that looks like. And then understanding the definitions. Cloud is another one similar to AI. Is that native? Is that going to be in the public cloud? Is that in the private cloud? So several definitions there that can be confusing. And it's a lot to look at.
So, Monique, so thanks for covering the ROI piece. That was going to be my next question. But we've also seen that there's a lot of hesitancy to go to cloud from a security standpoint. I think it's
Security.
more. I don't know what your take is. Is it just psychologically, people feel more secure knowing that all of my data is in this room and like nothing's going out of it, or are there like legitimate security concerns about you know taking all of my data, giving it to somebody else to keep essentially. And we were talking prior to the session that it seems like Deloitte in the UK has just right now had a malicious attack and lost some data in the process. So are the security concerns around cloud legitimate or not? Is it just a psychological?
That's such a great question. Cloud security is very controversial, and I have had great discussions, deep discussions with providers on both sides. There are pros and there are cons. And at the end of the day, I've been asked several times, what is the silver bullet to security? And there is not a silver bullet to security. We had an enterprise imaging summit, a class hosted summit I think it was in April in Park City, Utah. And it was invite only, and we had leading providers and leading vendors, all different walks of life, all imaging, of course. But we matched everybody. I love to play the kindergarten teacher, and we assign seats because we don't want people that are just exactly alike to sit by each other or people that are friends. You can always go find those individuals. We wanted to mix people up and get a real discussion, and we had a or a panel talking about cloud, and security came up. And to this day, I still reference the question, and the answer that was given is security and having an issue, whether that's on-prem or if it's in the cloud. It is not a matter of if there will be another issue, if there will be a breach, it is absolutely when. And so together, everybody has got to start having more conversations around security. and understanding what that looks like. And it is going to be ongoing, probably for all of our career. Unfortunately, I wish that was a problem we did not need to solve, but it's going to be an ongoing discussion. A lot of providers, now that cloud is getting, I would say, more mainstream. Remember, before it's been smaller organizations and it's been more private or it's been hosted. Providers are telling me they do feel more confident giving that responsibility to someone else, that is
Yeah,
a huge focus. At the end of the day, though, there still needs to be those discussions, and everybody needs to hold each other accountable, not just on the cloud side, but on the provider side. So if the cloud provider is telling the provider, ensure this and this happens, it's going to take all
yeah,
of
they
us
better do that.
to keep
Yeah.
data secure.
I
Great
think, yeah, I
question.
think, I think it's just, so we think about it a lot, right? At Couple, we've gone through our ISO, ISOs and SOC 2s and all of that. And, it always comes down to, I think, intent, right? It's like, you can have all the certifications in the world, but if you leave your door open, somebody's going to come in and steal your stuff. And whose
Exactly.
fault is it, right? So,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
let's take a couple of questions that have come in. We're almost hitting time. So the first one is from my colleague Aditya. He handles regulatory and compliance at Carpel, unsurprisingly. What do you think
Fun job.
could help? What do you think could help manage the increasing cost of bandwidth and computational resources as AI becomes more common in radiology? Yeah, obviously, there are no free lunches, right? If you want to run a top-notch AI model that requires top-notch resources. So any thoughts, either of you have on that?
Yeah, I can say that I have that question quite often from providers. I don't think there's an answer yet, but I love the question. We are going to have to figure that out together, and there will have to be some changes because it is, like you said, it's not the free lunch. But if it's quicker and it is back to the patient care, I love that behind you it says patients, not data. So that is something we're all going to have to work on together. And what is that model? I don't have the answer. Providers asking me that question as well. So that's something, though, I would love all of us to work on together and continue to share so we can bring that forward. Jen, I don't know if you have anything that you've heard on your side.
I think I'm
Great
gonna
question.
tie this into the second question that we have. So, really, that whatever we are doing needs to really have a clear outcome or value proposition. So, something we're seeing in the broader space is, I mean, ambient speech took off really fast because we knew what it was going to do. We knew what outcomes it was likely to drive. They've now tracked those outcomes. And so it's caught on like wildfire. However, we have other vendors that we've seen come into the space. We saw healthcare organizations implement them. They said they could do everything. They didn't end up doing much at all because they said they could do everything. And then we saw them start losing customers, and some of them don't exist anymore. And so I think really when it comes to the cost and data, like there really needs to be an outcome we're driving, else why pay a huge cost for AI?
Yeah, cool. I think this was Jennifer. Thank you for alluding to Johan's comments. So this is Johan Lobleed, industry colleague, who has written that personally. I think it's time to state the feature benefits clearly. AI is just the underlying technology. The approach should be what is the perceived value by the users, and that shows like RSNA vendors should be standing out amongst each other. Thank you, Johan, for that. I'd just like to take this last question, which is very tactical question from somebody who doesn't want to be named. It says how do providers? I'm assuming your providers have typically always procured in a capex model. So how do they navigate the whole per month billing that AWS has to offer? Like, do you have a view on it, Monique? Maybe, and then we'll
Yeah,
close
so
after that.
again,
Yeah.
we're definitely early on that. So providers are now diving and looking at that. We're just getting started. So we hopefully will have some better data of people that have gone live, and that's moving forward in our next report. But right now, providers feel positive about it. But again, there's not data to say that's going to be the perfect solution and that's going to work. But I have had some positive feedback. And I think it goes back to what are the goals, what are the individual organization, the amount of data, and of course, at the end of the day, what that cost is and what the cost currently is with what you're hosting on-prem and all of the costs that calculate into that. So it's definitely a bit of a complex topic. We could probably have a whole webinar on
Whole
that.
webinar. I was going to say the same, and maybe we should.
We should.
Lastly, there's a question from Khalid,
Great question.
another senior from the industry. How does KLAS evaluate vendor performance in the AI space? Do you evaluate vendor performance in the
Great
AI space?
question. So we have not gone out and we looked at all the one-off algorithms. If you message us, and we'll give you the report that just came up, and it does talk. We did ask all naturally, who are you looking at? Who have you adopted? Who are you looking at purchasing? That is who is coming to the top. We figuring out and evaluating performance has definitely been very tricky and very controversial. So many providers say, don't just go out and offer anyone that will do it. We really want you to look at the people that are bubbling up and they're the very best. Don't waste our time telling us performance of a handful of people that they give you that are doing well, that you know they're going to give you. At the same time, we give all of our data back to providers at no cost. So no surprise going out with 300 plus algorithms and trying to get 15 data points. We have to look at that model. So we are internally discussing that right now. Please share with us ideas. What do you need? I ask that almost every call I have. What do you need? How can we help solve the problem? How can we help break down those barriers? And we are so open for feedback. And if there's a company you're working with in AI that's doing a great job, or you've investigated and you feel is doing something unique or differentiating, please drop us a note so we can also make sure they're on our radar and we can make sure we talk to their live customers. And I should also say paying contracted live customers. We don't want someone that's getting it, that's like you mentioned, the ROI. We really want to know if providers are investing, who is going to be that partner for you, who is going to deliver. And that's where providers right now are saying it's going to start with who's working well with our PACS vendor, who can easily plug and play. And no surprise, providers are looking at the platform vendors and to help them vet that out. So please drop
I
us a note
think
and let us know what you're doing.
that's a beautiful note to end on. I promise everybody I did not ask Monique to say that. But
He did not. He did not. It's really difficult to get
yeah,
me to say stuff that does not come from
I know.
providers.
Awesome. No, thank you, Monique. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for doing this. Means the world to us, to be honest. And yeah, see you all next week, same time, same place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.